Hello, everybody. It is great to be here one more time today. My name is Gary Fowler, and I am the CEO, president, and co founder of GSD Get Shit Done Venture Studios, a premier AI and quantum venture studio located in the heart of Silicon Valley. And it's with great pleasure that I have my esteemed guest, David Mandel. I mean, he's got such a wide background. I've never seen anything like it in my life. Like he had studied for his PhD in mathematics. He's an investor. He's an entrepreneur. Grew up in New York until 4 years old. Moved to California. Loves startups. Love angel investing, and is looking for the right kind of companies for his portfolio. So, with that, I'd like to bring David in. Hi, David.
Hey, Gary.
How you doing today? Or as they say
Excellent.
in New York, how you doing? How you's doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about it. How do you go from New York at 4 years old in California? I mean, does it your parents move for a job opportunity, or they wanted to just they were sick of the cold weather?
Well, that's less important, but the short version is my mother's actually from California. My grandparents were in California. My father was a lifetime New Yorker. And when I was 4 years old, actually, we wind up taking a trip to Israel. And my grandfather on my dad's side has passed away, and we went there to handle the affairs for the summer. And on a whim, my dad decided to stay there. So I wound up spending a few years there. And then after that, we came back. We came to California, never went back to New York. So I wound up growing up in California and going through, primary education and then college here and building my businesses right here in the Los Angeles area where I've been in the San Fernando Valley basically since 1985 till now.
Boy, you've seen a lot of changes take place.
Oh, yeah.
So what's the biggest thing? So the time you're there, you see all these changes. What's the one thing you've seen change? It's just amazing.
Right. Well, on the academic and technology side, I was fascinated with algorithms, computers, AI, everything that was going on, but that was in the 80s. And um, as I was going through school, it was before the internet. There was no category of data science. Math and computer guys were kind of nerds. There was nothing cool about it. And, we were lumped in with the other scientists, pretty much mathematicians were lumped in with physics and not so much even with engineering. But I was at the intersection of that. I was in applied math and a lot of computational kind of stuff. Had an undergrad that was a dual degree of math and computer science. Really wanted to work on AI. I was fascinated with AI and the idea of, basically eventually kind of where we are today with machines taking over the world and thinking for us. And the idea is, can you take something that's just a calculator? It's a, you know, and it's a bunch of circuits. It's a calculator. Can you make it think? Can it actually think? And I was just completely fascinated with that, but it was too early. And um, going to college, I actually wind up serendipity working part-time for a mortgage broker, started to get excited about business, got the bug to kind of, do something. And I said, I'm young, I'm early. I had my master's at 19. Um, it's like, let me go and see if I can do something in the business world. It's just out. It was LA and real estate and finance were hot. And I got that bug to do something. And there was just no real career in academics. It seemed like the wrong time to and the wrong place. Academics in the US in the late 80s, early 90s. Defense industry was collapsing. You saw PhDs being unemployed, going back to teach high school or to be copier repairmen even. I think the last straw for me actually is seeing a copier repairman come into the mortgage brokerage where I was. And it turned out he was like a PhD in physics who couldn't get a job and was laid off and he was working as a copier repairman. It's like, okay, what am I doing? Gonna go to spend another 4 years getting my doctorate and I'll be one of a
You'd be the,
gazillion.
you would be the most educated technician out there. You know what I mean?
And it's like there's no, there's PhDs were staying in academia until they died. There was no slots to come in. You're either teaching junior college somewhere in the middle of nowhere, or you're working in some job you don't like. There wasn't anything cool. It was before Google, before all the data science, before everything that's hot today. And it was just, a decade or two too early. So that just brings us to where we are today, because I went into business. It turned out to work out just fine. I had some good luck. I was in the right place at the right time, built and exited 4 businesses around finance and insurance. I almost always kind of migrated towards the underwriting side, the risk bearing side, which was all models. And so I used some of my maybe mathematical side to make a better product and make businesses that did things a little differently on the product side. And it worked out quite well. And fast forward, come around where probably around 2011, 2012. And in my finance and insurance businesses, at the time I had a mid-sized subprime auto lender. I also had a pretty large auto insurance underwriter in California, Alliance United Insurance Company. And um, it, it was great. We liked what we were doing. We were helping the community. We were providing good product and service. But I started to have vendors come into me with interesting products. And it's the first, what I started to get exposed to as the true new fintech and insurtech kind of products. Some new systems that weren't at all like our legacy systems. And they're like, yeah, we'll take data out of your legacy system. We'll take all your unstructured notes and all this data, and we'll give you all these insights, and we'll do all these cool things. And it wasn't your old like Experian kind of give you something, or TransUnion. It was a completely new type of, which were tech startups. I didn't even know the term tech startup back then. But it was basically
Yeah, that's amazing.
tech startups coming in, showing me what can be done. And that really got me thinking. It's like, that's cool. If they can do that, then that works. Then what I wanted to do 30 years ago is now here. AI is actually come full circle. And the idea of machine learning, AI, that you can do all these productive things, it's like, I want to work on that instead of just my own one business. I really want to do something in that world. I almost thought of, trying to figure out how to start some kind of, you know, tech startup on the side, build something in our portfolio of companies that was technology oriented using AI. And that got me going up to where you are, going up to the Bay Area, attending conferences, events, meeting with GPs that are investing in tech, and just getting into that system. From that, I got dragged into angel investing, as well as being an LP in some funds that were at the cutting edge of what's going on in Silicon Valley. And that really, say, the rest is history, because that was the beginning of the end. From there, I got the bug to be all in on this. By somewhere 2012, 2013, I was saying, you know, I want I love every time I'm out of the office and talking to tech, being at conferences or just talking to either founders or investors. And I'm starting to enjoy my day job less and less. And as companies get big, I mean, at one point we had over 600 employees. It's like, okay, your job goes away from product and towards compliance, HR, legal, all that. It's like, okay, my day job isn't fun anymore. I don't look forward to getting up in the morning and going to the office. I do look forward to when I can meet with founders or talk to other investors and talk about technology and what's going on in the startup world. And I just made the decision at that point that I want out. And even though I had a great business, I was like, and I interviewed some bankers. We eventually hired investment bankers, did process on both businesses, got out of both businesses. They're both still thriving in their new ownership. Alliance United has been a part of Kemper, which is a public company, KMPR, and it's been there for the last 8 years almost now. But and it's doing well. The book has grown.
And you
It's still
sold
there.
that one. You sold that one to Kemper.
Yeah, I sold Alliance United to Kemper back in 2014, deal closed 2014. Regulatory approval didn't come in until Q1 of 15. And I stayed on for a couple of years as the EVP at Kemper. That was an interesting experience as well, being in the corporate world, getting to be part of the property and casualty executive committee there and seeing how decisions are made corporate wide and across, not just my California product, but the decisions, what states to be in, what states not to be in, all those kind of high level decisions that have to be made at a larger public company. That was an interesting experience, and it confirmed, obviously, that the corporate world's not for me. While I can do the job, I didn't enjoy the job, and during that time, I was continuing to get more and more enamored by tech and startups, and already building myself a large portfolio as I had my nest egg from the exits. And my thought at the time was really just to be a full-time investor. I really decided that that's my next. I don't want to do anything in the insurance and finance world anymore directly. I'm not going to start another company. And I just want to be all in on supporting the next generation and learn everything I can, get involved. And that's where I started to follow every program there is. I locally in Southern California started to follow university programs, joined angel groups. I'm still a very active member at Tech Coast Angels. I'm a member at Pasadena Angels. I currently happen to serve on the board at Pasadena Angels as well, and help with I'm co-chairing the screening committee and the outreach committee. So just because it's synergetic with everything else I do. And fast forward, I've made several hundred angel investments, built a portfolio,
Now, how
some
big are
direct.
these investments, David? What's the average?
So yeah,
Rate?
so that depends. That's a good question. And without giving away the total of my personal portfolio, um, you know, I've done, so there's a lot of syndicated deals where someone else is sourcing a deal and then packaging it and taking it. And that's great. There's platforms that help, and there's others doing it directly. And if it's someone else's deal and I'm going in, I'll write a smaller check, usually in the 5 to 10,000 range, sometimes $25,000 range. When I'm going direct as an angel investor on a cap table, it's usually a $25,000 or $50,000 check. Because if I'm doing the work to write, to do the due diligence, I want it to be worthwhile for both sides, for them respect their time of talking to me and respect the work I put in. And that's where I went full circle to say, when I'm doing all this work, I really want to be able to write a bigger check. And I started to have a lot of associates from my prior life who I would catch up with, and we would have lunch or coffee and be like, oh, what's going on, in the insurance world where they are, or the finance world. And they'd be like, well, what are you doing? I haven't seen you come back on the circuit with, I was expecting you to pop up with another company
Mhm.
somewhere. And I would tell them the whole story about how I intentionally got out. I have no intentions of getting back in, and I'm all in on angel investing. And they would find it fascinating. A lot of them had no clue this world existed, or just vaguely were aware of it. I explained to them the world of venture capital and angel investing, and even referred several to check out angel group meetings and so forth. At the end of the day, after several years of doing that, I realized that active angel investing isn't for everybody. And referring them to a deal here and there is probably doing them more harm than good, because you really do need a diversified basket. It, I, I always assume, my philosophy is to have a diversified basket, and I'm always assuming that half of my investments will fail, but the other half will have a very nice exit. And
Mhm.
it's what everyone in this industry talks about, the asymmetric returns. You can only lose 100% of what you invest, but you can make a lot more.
Yeah,
You,
yeah, that's true.
instead of you can't.
Especially if you know the deal flow, David. You gotta, like, be on top of the deal flow, where the
Yeah,
deal's coming from,
and the
what's
upside,
happening in the
right?
market, what companies, not only are they growing every month, but they got an incredible team and the market's, ripe for it, right? And sometimes we forget these, I don't wanna say the soft buy, but there is some gut feeling about it, and there is some, you can feel what's gonna happen next.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, short story forward, I never planned to manage other people's money. And so I was kind of running this as a family office with my own holding company, making hundreds of investments full time, and just me and one accountant that was helping with the bookkeeping. And that was pretty much it. And then at that point, somewhere in 2019, I finally, had enough people who said I would co-invest, kind of if you make it, we'll support you kind of thing. We want to invest with you, and we don't want to
Boy,
do the work.
I've heard that before, by the way. I remember one time said it, we'll support you if you get it done, kind of thing. And it's like, I started to listen to what the guy was telling me. And it's odd, right, when you have those. But it is funny. Once you do have it done, the next time you want to do a deal, they're all in, right? They're more than in. They're oversubscribed trying to get in.
Yeah, so that's where I started a small fund. Said, okay, let me try it, and I made Emerging Ventures Fund One, and it's like it'll be a proof of concept fund. It'll be a short term. It'll be a 1 year investment period, basically. My next 25 deals, I'll do like 2 a month from this fund, and so I gathered up 20 something of my former associates as LPs, and we started writing checks from the fund, and that way I can write checks that are more like 100, 150,000 each instead of 25 to 50,000 each, because I'm pulling the money of almost 30 LPs. So we have, the ability to write checks even up to 250 each instead of just the smaller checks. And we're branded as a firm. We get, much better reception from startups when we're out there as a VC rather than just an individual angel. It allowed me to build the infrastructure, set up a website, set up all the things to, be a more professional investor and make me really formalize what I'm doing in the process, because I am now responsible for other people's money. I did hire a third-party administrator to run the whole back end. I didn't want to have to deal with compliance and accounting and legal, and I didn't want to screw anything up and get in any trouble with the regulators. It is a serious business. I made sure that that was outsourced to a third-party administrator who was professionally administering everything and accounting for everything. So I just have to deal with what I was doing before, talking to founders all day long and going through my due diligence process, my funnel of talking to several hundred of them, narrowing it down to 20 or 30 that I really kind of ask for more information on and dig into, and then eventually funding 1 or 2 a month, or sometimes 3 or 4. If it, there's no particular limit per month, it's just as they come. And needless to say, that worked out really nicely. I kind of enjoyed that new role. I say, okay, that's me. I like it. This suits me. And I continue to angel invest. So the fund has its thesis. It's only like mostly US, Canada, and Israel emerging tech. As an angel investor, I can be more prolific. I can go into things that aren't on thesis. I can, take gambles on things that are too early, whatever I want to do. It's my own money. There's no accountability. There's no time horizon. When it's the fund, I always have to think within the constraints of the fund and that filter. And it's a great discipline to have those constraints put on you. And so I always give first shot to the fund, and whatever's not a fit for the fund, I always consider it's like, okay, it's not a fit to the fund, but do I want to support this guy and write a small angel check, or do I help them go through the process of applying to different angel groups and get them funded that way, or whatever I do. And so I'm always wearing multiple hats as I talk to founders, and that's where we are. So Fund One went well. We made 28 investments from Fund One at the end. 10 of them already had events since 9 had markups. 1 failed. We had 1 COVID failure, casualty that was done before COVID and depended on physical facilities and had a panic M&A transaction after, and kind of a fire sale. 9 of them had great markups. So out of the 28, where we're usually investing in the pre-seed and seed stage very often when they're coming out of accelerator or incubator programs. And
What are you looking for, David? What are the things you're looking for? What makes you excited when you talk to a startup? What's the thing that makes you
right.
excited about it?
So, and that's a loaded question. At the fine, obviously they got to be on thesis, so, and they have to have a great team and an interesting product. So, those are the minimum, kind of even just to talk to them. And there's a lot of things we don't do. I'm in LA. There's a lot of great VCs in LA that help with direct to consumer, with brands that can help build brands. And and that's why I stay away from that. It's like I can't add a lot of value here, and I respect some of the local VCs that do that, that are really, really good at that, and I'll let them do that. There's some accelerator programs, incubator programs, and actual VCs that are amazing in that whole ecosystem. Same thing goes with social and entertainment and all that. So I kind of shy away from all that. On the other side, I don't do anything that requires FDA approval. So I don't do medical devices or biotech because my joke on that is I'm not a doctor and I don't play one on the internet. And
Mhm.
it's amazingly interesting. I see a lot of that come through our angel groups, and we're fortunate in the angel groups to have members that are active or retired doctors or researchers and so forth who can help do the deep dive, or even PhD university professors working in those labs, so they can vet the science, and that's awesome. But for our fund, maybe in some future life, I will make a fund that is a biotech fund and partner with a really bright uh, retired researcher of some sort. Take someone who is an MD, PhD at Amgen, who's exited from Amgen or something. I'm just using it as an example because they're local,
Mhm.
and it's like, okay, they're right in the mix of it. They know what the cutting edge is. I would love to partner with someone like that and make a fund that focuses on biotech, with them being kind of the chief science officer for our fund, doing all the due diligence. But I don't have the skill set for that, so I just stay away from all of that. So between that, it rules out a lot of what we see. See, on Silicon Valley is all tech. In LA, it's interesting, but what gets pitched to us at various pitch events and programs down here is a mix. You have medical devices, you'll have biotech. I mean, every week you got like 5 guys telling you they're curing cancer. And
Mhm.
I wish it was true. I have some great friends that work locally in biotech, but these guys can't all be successful in curing cancer, and I can't tell them apart. So I just avoid all of it. And and tons of brands. I mean, everything from the next canned beverage of some kind. It could be canned water, or it could be alcoholic beverage. It can be a kombucha. It can be whatever. You see a ton of them every day, or another healthy granola bar of some sort, or even direct to consumer men's underwear. I've one time in about a 5-week period got pitched 3 completely separate direct to consumer men's underwear brands, saying we're revolutionizing men's underwear.
We're gonna be the Dollar Shave Club for,
Exactly. Each have a different model, a different product, and it's like, that's great. I can't help you. And with one of them, I actually became a customer. I went online, I check out all their products, and with one of them, actually, it's like, this is good. I bought a pack of underwear, and I've still used them. It's like a great product, but I wish them luck. But I'm not going to be an investor. It's not a fit for what I do. I can't help them, and it's just not interesting to me. It's just
the
another
underwear
sales.
fit, but not the company.
Exactly. I'll be a customer and not an investor. And I think you hear that a lot on Shark Tank. But
No,
uh,
no, I hear that. So tell me a
so
little bit about it. We're coming up to the top of the show. We got another 5 minutes left.
okay,
What drives you? What makes you
yeah.
excited? What makes you do
So I guess
something?
that's the finish of what we're looking for. That's kind of important, is that we're looking for those that are going to be venture. So it's technology. They're either using current emerging tech to solve a real world problem, or inventing the next generation of emerging tech. And then it has to be venture scalable. There's a lot of companies that are on thesis. They're great. I love the founder. I love the product, but it just seems like they're moving too slow, and it's not going to be with. So I'm looking for someone who, in 12 to 18 months, can raise a large Series A. And I'm putting on the hat of a Series A investor and say, what would they need to look like? What milestones would they need to hit in order for me to write them a big check if I was a Series A VC in 12 to 18 months? And if I can't see them getting there with a high likelihood, then that's a deal killer. And then, of course, that goes for that with the final exit, is we need them to have a high likelihood, if everything goes right, if things don't go wrong, then they have at least a 10x exit in 5 to 7 years. So, if they're raising at a 10 million valuation today, they need to be somewhere around a $200 million company or more in 5 to 7 years, because after dilution from additional rounds, that will get me north of my 10x. And if I can't see them being a $200 million plus company in 5 years, then I can't invest today either. That's the deal killers as far as the underwriting goes. And we have to be disciplined about that. My partner, Bennett Cole, who's a retired investment banker, is really good at the due diligence and at the modeling. And together we, he often plays the bad cop and shows me why it's not going to work, and because I get excited talking to the founders. Um,
No, that's
a-
good. That's super.
and to answer your last question, and what drives me, and my wife asks me that all the time because I would sit here and it's like I'm so busy. I can be on meetings from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then after dinner, instead of watching TV with them, it's like I go back to my computer and I'll log into a data room and spend 2 hours looking at stuff, or I'll be writing up my reports, and it's like, why are you so busy? What you're doing? You don't need any of this. And, you should be retired. And it's like, well, I'm 52 years old. I don't feel like I should be retired. There's only so much. I don't golf, and there's only so much tennis I can play. And this is fun, and I do need a better work-life balance. But I love what I'm doing, and I feel obligated to respond to people. I get all this inbound. I at least have to look at it and give them an answer. But what motivates me is just this is amazingly exciting. Being able to be at the forefront of technology and not become this old guy who doesn't, who has to rely on his grandkids to tell him how things work. It's like I dread becoming that guy. And this is my anecdote. This is my antidote to not becoming that old guy that doesn't know what's going on in the world, because I'm at the forefront talking to the geniuses inventing the future. And by doing so, and they're taking the time to dumb it down and explain it to me. I'm talking to people who are 10 times smarter than me every day. And they have to dumb it down and explain it to me because they want my money. So
Yeah, there you go. That's an important thing. They're
I,
forced to dumb it down. That's a great. And
they have to tell me what's going on and tell me what they're inventing and why it's going to change the world. And it's just amazing to be in that position. I really appreciate that access.
no, that's great. So we're coming to the top of the show. How do people get a hold of you? What's the best way for them to reach out to you?
So emerging.vc is our website. And from there, there's links to my personal accounts. On Twitter, I'm at Mandel Angel. I'm also on Facebook and on LinkedIn. I think on LinkedIn it's David Mandel It's funny because there's another David Mandel, but you can find the links. Emerging.vc is the easiest one to spell, and from there there's links to our personal bios. And I do reply, whether it's founders that want to reach out with a fundraising or just advice, or whether it's anyone that wants more information about the fund itself. I'm happy to reply to anyone and take some time to help you guys.
That's great. Well, David, I want to tell you thank you so much for tuning into my show and being a guest on the show today. To all my audience out there, I want to thank you one more time for joining GSD Presents Silicon Valley AI and Tech, and I'm the host, Gary Fowler. Love artificial quantum computing? You can reach out to me at gary@gsdvs.com. Check LinkedIn and check the shows out. We have incredible guests just like David 2 times a week. Stay happy, stay safe, and most importantly, stay happy. Talk to you soon and see you Thursday. Bye bye.